Once I got that phone call, I knew it was finally time to show that I can do it, because there were so many sleepless nights where I was like, am I good enough? Am I truly, like, can I do this? And to get that phone call and to really take a step back and be like, holy cow, this is real. I can do this.
Been on the team 5 years. How does this team compare to the past 4?
It's hard to say, compare and contrast them, just because everyone is so different. And last year, there's a lot of big personalities with Griffin and Justin. And this year, we've had to identify who's going to be, I guess, really who's going to be those big personalities and who's going to step up when we need them most.
Where would you rank on the scale of big personalities?
Oh, goodness. If we're being honest, I'd like to think I'm pretty high up there. I'm pretty high energy and energetic, and my ADHD, when I don't take my Adderall, it doesn't, I'm out there a little bit. So I'd like to say I'm towards the top.
Do you think that has increased as you've gotten more comfortable through your time here?
Oh, completely. If you would have talked to 18-year-old Riley as a freshman, I'm a completely different person. I've grown so much as a man and just as a human being, from talking to Josh, countless nights, talking to my parents, and just going through like I said, 5 years of maturing and growing up. And I would say, yes, it's helped a lot.
We're gonna get to your time here in just a second, but first, when did you first start playing baseball?
Oh goodness, I've played since I could walk. I've played every sport since I could walk, though. I've always been super active and just always going and going and going. No matter, because my older brother, watching him play sports growing up, I've always wanted to play sports. And when he'd get a lesson, I'd be in the background doing the same thing, trying to learn and just be better and just get better at the sports that I love.
How many siblings do you have?
I have an older brother who went to OU for undergrad. Sadly, we don't claim that. He went to Alabama for law school, so we go with that one. And I have a younger sister who's at Alabama right now.
What's the age difference between you and your older brother?
My brother is 25, I believe. So 3-ish years, give or take.
You've been playing baseball for as long as you can remember. When did you first start pitching?
That was actually the first thing I did. Being younger, scared of the ball, I didn't want to get hit. And so I was like, what's the easiest position not to get hit? Or like, what can I do to get the ball at least towards me? And it was pitching. And I figured, my dad told me if they can't hit it, then you're not going to get the ball hit at you. So I just stuck with it.
The easiest the ball can fly back at you anyway. Did that not scare you? I
don't know. It was my dad had tricked me into this mindset to where I was almost invincible on the mound, and I just went with it.
Had a pretty good high school career. How would you describe it?
Coach Jeremy Fothery, he helped me grow to be just even think I had a chance to play college baseball. He instilled so much confidence in us, and that we could. It was the second year as a varsity program when we won state, so it doesn't really happen, and it's not like we had all these big Division I baseball players. We had me who's walking on OSU, a couple slow mid-major D1 players, a couple JUCO guys, and it was just like we knew we had something special, but we didn't know what it would lead us to.
Said that was your senior season that you won. That was the second year of the varsity program.
I was the first graduating class in that high school, because I went to Justin Northwest my freshman year, and then Eaton was built. And so I was driving 30 minutes to high school, and Eaton's a 5-minute walk from my house. So I transitioned over there, and then our first year we were JV in all sports, and then next year varsity, and then that senior year was our first graduating class, and second year as a varsity program.
There were no varsity sports. You just play other schools' JV teams?
My sophomore year, we just played JVs. Anyone who would play us, we played them. We played some private schools, and just anyone who would schedule us, we did.
How do you think that affected your career as a baseball player?
I think it kind of helped me develop in a sense, gave me a chance to not be rushed into a varsity role or anything. Because if I would, I hate talking about myself, but if I would have stayed at the other high school, I would have been on the varsity team and I think it truly gave me some more time to develop and actually understand the game of baseball and get to know the guys even better, because we came from all over the place. It wasn't just like we pulled from one high school. There was another high school we pulled from. So
if you would have been on varsity at another school, where did you need to develop?
Mentally, I would say. In all honesty, I was a bigger kid already. I was 6 foot as a freshman, so I was already larger than most 18 or I guess 15-year-olds. So my mental space.
You played other sports. What other sports did you play in high school?
Football and basketball, but I ended up being in Texas. They want you really focusing on one sport. And so me playing 3, I had to have a little sit down with my parents and decide, hey, you're probably not going to play Division I basketball, so let's focus on something you're pretty good at. And I chose football and baseball.
What positions did you play in football?
Quarterback, and I was a punter as well.
How did that happen?
My first love was football. I grew up, I just love it. I had such a unique sport, and just the fact that you get to hit kids and have fun. It was just a release of anger. And so I ended up playing quarterback since I could walk, and the punter thing was just a weird incident, and it just kind of happened.
Talk about hitting kids, but quarterbacks don't get to hit other players.
I stopped playing defense in high school. Once middle school I played, and then I realized I had a chance to play Division I football, and I probably should just focus on being a quarterback. So I did that as well, and other people started getting the same size as me, and I was like, oh, it's not as fun, not as big.
So there was a legitimate chance that you were going to go play D1 football.
Yes, ma'am.
What schools were recruiting you?
I had a few. So my junior year, I dislocated my throwing shoulder, and I had a severe concussion. And so all the schools that were recruiting me and sending me mail and all of that, my parents made me sit down and call them and be like, hey, we're not going to pursue the football thing as heavily, but if it happens, it happens. And there was Texas State, Tech, a lot of the Texas schools were recruiting me, Arkansas for a little bit, and just smaller schools at the start.
Arkansas and Tech are not small schools.
They came later down the road. They came a little later down the road. There's a lot of mid-major Division I schools, but I decided I probably should focus more on baseball where injury is less prevalent. And
how did the shoulder injury impact your pitching?
Well, just up until about 2 to 3 years ago, my right arm was shorter than my left arm. It was because I didn't let it fully heal because I got hurt on a Friday, and Monday we had practice, so I had to, being the starting quarterback, I had to be there, and being in Texas, it's a really big deal, and I just had to persevere and go through it. And
where are the athletic trainers saying, no?
Oh, they said no. It was one of those where it was like the athletic trainer saying no, but the coaches were like, hey. And my dad was like, hey, let's do this. And I was like, okay, let's do it.
How's it feeling now?
Great. And I think this is the first time in my life it's actually felt good. And I actually have full mobility, and it's the same length as my left arm.
You were a quarterback and a punter, and you said the punting just kind of happened. However, you were an all-state punter.
I was. It wasn't intentional. It's just something I was oddly good at. And I don't claim to be some guru. It just kind of happened.
How does that just kind of happen? Because getting all-state is not an easy feat.
The 99-yard punt I had really helped, but
99 yards.
I will say it was when the wind helped it. We had a 25-mile-an-hour wind behind me, and it went 60 yards in the air and rolled the rest. But that really boosted my stats from where they were to.
You got to take credit for things. You just got to own it. Win was not a factor. Just take credit for things.
Absolutely.
Stop being humble.
I'll try. It's hard. It's hard being from my dad. My parents did not. That's how they raised me. Was very. it's hard to explain, but.
It's not a bad thing. You put football on the back burner, decided to pursue baseball. What schools were recruiting you in baseball?
The first school to ever reach out was the University of New Orleans. And I went on a visit there, and that was the first moment I realized this can happen. Like everything you work for can finally pay off. And K-State, Texas State, and a few other schools up north were just seeing. And I went on the visits, did everything, and none of them felt like home until I stepped on campus here. And just at the moment I stepped on campus, I knew I wanted to come here just either for school, and if I got the opportunity to play baseball, I would take full advantage of it.
To be clear, it was not an official visit when you stepped on campus.
It was me and my parents. We drove up here because I thought, why not? My parents' alma mater, let's check it out. Let's give it a chance. And I walked by Theta Pond and saw Edmund Lowe, and I was like, I want to call this place home. I fell in love with it immediately.
How did that make your parents feel?
They're going to hate me for saying this, but they're criers. And so as soon as I told them that, they lost it. They just started bawling because I was older brother going to OU. They're like, we failed. We're not going to send a kid to OSU. We failed our alma mater. And when I told them that, they ecstatic. I mean, just tears everywhere. And I was like, okay, guys, we got to take the rest. You show me the rest of campus. But they loved it.
Your parents also have an interesting story about how they met. Mm-hmm. How did they get together?
If I remember correctly, my dad was the first guy my mom met on campus. And he was a year older than her. And so my dad had no interest at first. Wanted nothing to do with her, but she was persistent. She was a Lambda Chi here, and she'd go to the Lambda Chi house and take his sweatshirts, I need this, I'm gonna borrow this today. No, Heather, give it back, that's mine. Nope. And she'd take it, and finally they went on a date his senior year and her junior year, and he was dropping her off at the Trident house, and he said, Heather Taylor, if you don't get out of this car, I'm gonna kiss you. And she said, I'm not getting out. And the rest was history.
3 years of pursuit by your mom.
Mm-hmm. She was consistent.
What has that sort of taught you? Not necessarily your parents' story, but just her persistence in things.
Oh, I love my mom so much, but this is horrible, she's a pain in the ass in a good way, in the best way, because I know in our family, you better get it done, or she's gonna be on you like no one's business. It is. You would think it'd be her only thing to do that day, is because if I have something to do, hey, don't forget about this. You got to do this, this, and this. Yes, ma'am. I'm already taking care of it. 5 minutes later, hey, just checking in. Have you got it done? Mom, I'll get it done. And so I think what she's really taught me is not to procrastinate, really. Just when it's time to get stuff done, get it done. And
how often do you talk to your parents?
Every day.
How many times a day?
It's embarrassing to say, but 3 to 4 times separately, and then a couple times together. It just depends on the day. But if I pitch in practice or anything, I call my dad, and then I got to call my mom and update them on everything. They want every detail. And then 4 times a day, I would say.
4 times mom, 4 times dad.
Mm-hmm.
So 8 times total.
Basically.
Texting, calling.
We are a super close family. My dad's my best friend. I did everything with him growing up. From the moment I could play sports, it was him and I going to lessons, driving all over the country, going everywhere together. So him and I grew a super close bond. And I know he's always got my back, and I will always have his back. And when I need to be put in line, I know he'll do it.
Was he ever your coach?
No, he could not do it. He actually had to read magazine. He'd get so worked up at my baseball games because he's a perfectionist. He expects perfection from me. He wants the best for me, always. And so if something happened not to his liking, I would hear it at a young age. I could hear his voice at a young age, always. And finally in high school, we had to have a talk. And I was like, hey, I got to figure this out on my own a little bit. And so he's never missed. He's missed maybe a handful of games in my entire life of every sport. And so he finally was like, okay. And he'd read magazines and watch the game. And that's the only way he could get through them.
Was he an athlete himself?
No, ma'am.
So he's living vicariously through
Oh,
you.
absolutely. He is all of 5'8" and just not athletic.
You could be 5'8" and an athlete.
He's not. I love him to death, but.
Come to Oklahoma State, not on an official visit. At what point did you connect with Coach Holliday about possibly joining the team?
I came in the summer trying to decide, had to.
Before your senior year?
Yes, ma'am. And so I decided I was going to school there before senior year. I applied to a bunch of schools and I figured, oh well, I'm going to Oklahoma State. That summer, going from my senior year to freshman year, I reached out to James Valade and Coach Holliday, and Coach Valade came and watched me, came and scouted me, and he was like, we'll see, you get to campus. And then me and my parents at orientation came and sat down with Coach Holliday, and he laid it out. He goes, if we think he's good enough, he can, we'll do it. But if not, he's done. We're not gonna waste our time. And I took that as a challenge, and here I am 5 years later.
What was your reaction when you found out you had made the team as a walk-on?
Oh, I was on cloud nine. I couldn't even begin to describe, just to even get the opportunity to be at such a prestigious place. It was an unbelievable experience.
You've been here 5 years, came here as a walk-on, saw your first game action in the Big 12 Championship a couple weeks ago.
It's Riley Taylor. This is going to be his first appearance of the year, a redshirt junior of Hazlet, Texas.
Exciting moment for this young man.
What was your reaction when you got the call in the bullpen, take the mound?
It was truly incredible. It was special. It was just one of those things where I had to take this moment by myself in the bathroom because I was like, I knew I was it was just one of those where I was like, I knew my hard work had finally paid off after 5 years of busting my ass and taking everything Josh and Rob have said and truly trying to be the best version of myself every single day, whether it was at Alley P or at O'Brate now. I knew once I got that phone call, I knew it was finally time to show that I can do it, because there were so many sleepless nights where I was like, am I good enough? Am I truly, can I do this? And to get that phone call and to really take a step back and be like, holy cow, this is real. I can do this. And I stepped out on that when I got to the mound, didn't set in. I threw my last warm-up pitch, and I turned around and kind of just looked around. I was like, holy cow, this actually real. And it, besides giving up the home run, it was everything I could have wished for.
A great run for Florida State.
Swung on and missed. Fontenelle strikes out. So Riley Taylor, his first strikeout.
You had a couple strikeouts. How did it feel to get your first strikeout of your college career?
A moment I'll never forget, truly. There have been a handful of moments in sports that I will never forget, and that is, my dad said, he has a saying that if you can take everything away from them, just don't take that memory away, and that is one of those I hope I'll never forget.
What are some of the other ones?
Just winning state, being able to finally look at, there's been a few times looking up at my parents, after we won state and looking after that first inning of being actually pitching for Oklahoma State, looking up and seeing my parents crying. It was one of those where I knew it wasn't just for me. I felt like I really had made my parents proud and made everyone that has stuck with me through this journey proud. How
did the rest of the bullpen react when you were walking out?
They were losing it. They were having a good time. I could hear them in the background, and I could hear the guys in the dugout. And I normally can't, but it was just, I knew they had my back no matter what the outcome was, that they were going to be there for me.
When you entered the Big 12 championship game, could you hear your mom cheering for you?
So even before I entered, they called and said, "You're going in." And I mean, being my first time, I texted my parents and I was like, "Hey, I'm in." I texted in the family group chat, "Hey, I'm about to go in, just a heads up." And I hear a screech that it was ear piercing. It only could have came from her. Literally only could have came from her. So, I mean, yeah, I could hear her. She will always be my number one fan. Always, no matter what, will always be the loudest in the crowd, no matter what. There could be 100,000 people in there and I'll hear her.
You got to really tip your hat to the young man. Being there 3 years and never appearing in a ball game and getting your opportunity. It's been a long road for him.
How hard was it to sit for almost 5 seasons and not see any playing time?
It was tough. I mean, it was very tough because, like I said earlier, I was questioning myself constantly. Like, am I really good enough? Am I cut out to play Division I baseball? But my dad just said, stick to it. One day it'll happen. If you just keep the course and stay true and stay loyal to Josh and stay loyal to Rob. Because nowadays everyone's just going in the transfer portal if they don't like their situation. Well, that's the easy way out in my eyes. And I knew my dream would never fully be fulfilled of playing Division I baseball if it didn't happen here.
If you had never gotten the opportunity to play, would your dream have still been fulfilled?
In different ways, because I was a Fiji here as well. So I got to experience both sides of Greek life and school, and baseball athletics. And I think, my main goal is always education first. And that's why I'm getting my MBA right now and focusing on school. I'm focusing on school and baseball, but this education's always come first. And I know my ultimate dream is to provide the life that my parents have provided for me, for my family later down the road. And so that's what I always keep in my mind, because baseball comes and go. Everyone career ends. And I know if I can get an education that means something from a prestigious school like this, I have an opportunity.
You said there are a lot of nights where you would question if you were cut out to be a Division I baseball player. How many times did you consider walking away from the game?
To be completely honest, I don't know if I ever got to that point, because I was always talked off the ledge by my parents, like, "Hey, you got this. Like, we're in your corner." And through friends and family, just my best friend Brian giving me late night phone calls, him and I just talking and like, "Hey, you got this. If anyone can do it, it's you." And so it helped. Because if I didn't have the support system around me, I'm sure it would have happened a lot sooner. It would have happened.
How many other pitchers have not seen playing time?
I'm the only one. I was the only one.
Why stick with it?
It's a great question. And I don't have an answer, because I love the team. I love Coach Holiday, and I just love the grind and love that I knew one day I would get an opportunity. And I knew once I got that opportunity, I'd try and make the most of it. And if I didn't stick to it, I knew I'd never get it.
Took 5 years to get that opportunity. What do you think your role within the bullpen was up until that point?
Energy, bring energy. Just be a team guy. If someone needs something, I can help them out. I'll do it 100%. And even still, it doesn't matter to me. I'm selfless. I try and, because I was joking with Rock before I played, I live through you, dude. Like, if you need something, you let me know. But it was just, I'd bring energy. I always like to think I'm a positive attitude. I'm always going to bring a smile around the facility. And if I can help someone when they're down, I'm going to try my best and bring them up.
Your parents were at that game. They've come to every game before that. Mm-hmm. What does it mean to you to know that they were in the stands, knowing there's a very good shot you weren't going to see game action?
Knowing, that support system is there. It's just, no matter what, their unwavering support will always be there for me. It's not many people have a support system like that, so it's truly special, and I won't ever take it for granted.
What do you think the hardest part of being here and not playing was?
That's tough because there's a lot of challenging parts because it's one of those things where like I knew I could do it in these past couple years when I really developed and I started to gain velocity on my fastball and playing in the summers and having success in the summers. But just sticking to it. It was hard. It was hard. It just bringing that mindset every day that, hey, you're not going to play today for the first couple years. Like it was not an option. And I understood that, but I knew I could bring value in other ways. And I was going to do my best to do that.
What value have you brought?
I like to think I bring a lot of happiness and laughter and smiles. Energy, like I said earlier, I will always be, if I'm in the dugout, I'll try to be the first one out. I may not play, but I feel like I can lead some of the younger guys if they ever have questions about what's next or like, what should I do in this situation? Or, hey, I need help. And that it's not going to the coaches because anything they ask me stays with me. Like it won't. So that I feel like I can truly help just lead in certain different aspects. It may not be playing. It may not be what like Nolan McLean does and how he leads on the field. And maybe I'm okay with being behind the scenes. I know my role.
What's your advice to players, younger guys who might not see game action right away?
Don't take the easy road. If you want to leave, think twice about it. Just really sit back and think about it. And if that's the right decision for you, and if you truly don't think you belong, then you should leave. But stick to it because in most 95% of the time it pays off in the end. In different ways, it may not be playing. It may just be having the memories that for a lifetime.
Do you belong here?
I truly do believe I do. 100%. This is my home. Not many people love Stillwater, Oklahoma, but I love Stillwater, Oklahoma. And the team, everything about it feels like home.
What does this team mean to you?
Everything. It is everything to me. I'm truly like knowing how bought in guys are and how many years I put in of work just to be a part of it. It's my everything.
Where have you played baseball during this summer?
I've been to Junction City, Kansas, right outside of Manhattan. Loved it to death. Loved my host family. That was the only good part. Then I've been to Derby, Kansas, right outside of Wichita. And then I went up to Greenville, Tennessee in the Appalachian League this summer, or most recent summer.
And you made the All-Star team.
I did. I threw 50 innings this summer, and I was fortunate enough to make the All-Star team with a lot of other very talented pitchers, and it was a cool experience. They do it really well up there. They treat the guys, they treat you like a professional.
What did making the All-Star team do for your confidence entering this current season?
I think it really reassured because there's a lot of other Power 5 Division I guys there, and it just got me in that mindset that it reassured that I can do this. I can compete with the best out there. It doesn't matter whether it's Vanderbilt or East Tennessee State. There's good talent everywhere, and you have to compete. And I like to think that I am one of those talented kids that can compete at the highest level.
Said you were in a fraternity, or you are in a fraternity.
I was.
You were.
I graduated already.
Well, you're a brother for life.
This is true.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
What were the challenges of balancing obligations to your fraternity and obligations to baseball?
Fiji was actually very supportive of me being on the baseball team because some of my fraternity brothers were Matt Wolf, Austin Eckroat, and then I had one freshman that played basketball, walked onto the basketball team. So they understood that athletes have a little different commitment for time and their sport has to come first. And they did a great job of building a system that works for me and that I can still be involved in the fraternity while putting baseball first.
Do you have a COVID year?
I do.
Are you taking it?
Yes, ma'am. I got one more year of my MBA and I got one more year eligibility, so I might as well take it.
What are the chances you think you might see more game action your sixth year?
I just got to I got to keep working my ass off and keep proving it. I get 2 innings here, then I got to prove myself from there and just because nothing's given here. Everyone's talented, everyone. And we're going to bring in 10 freshmen that are freak athletes. I mean, they're great baseball players. And so I know I have to figure out my role and be the best of that I can possibly be, whatever that entails.
You have one more year before you really need to decide this. What are your plans for after baseball?
I want to get into the oil and gas industry. That's the plan. My uncle works in oil and gas down in Houston, and I want to get back to Texas. That's where I belong. I firmly believe it, either in Fort Worth or Houston, but that's oil and gas right now.
You said Stillwater was home, though.
Home for the meantime, for school, for what the purpose it serves, I should say.
Oh, temporary, I see, I see.
I'll be back. I'm a firm believer in being loyal and true, and that, like, hopefully if I'm lucky enough to make enough money, I can donate back to the university and help as much as I can.
There's a big renovation project coming up for athletics.
I know. It looks incredible too, and hopefully I can help. But we'll see. That's a little longer down the road.
What are some of your hobbies outside of baseball?
I love to golf. I have 2 dogs, so those take up most of my time. Tinker and Oakley. So those are my girls. I love them. I literally love those dogs more than almost anything in the entire world. So that's really my hobbies. Is either if I'm not hanging out with them, I'm playing golf.
What, Tinker and Oakley, where did you get the names?
So Tinker, I wasn't even supposed to have a dog, and then a family friend of ours found all 8 puppies in a dumpster outside of a Walmart in Texas. And my dad was at my sister's tennis lesson, and a family friend walked in with her. Her name was Missy at the time, and my dad goes, "Oh, you got a new dog? How awesome!" And he was like, "Well, we're trying to get rid of her." And my dad goes, "How much?" And I said, "For you, free." He walked her out. I was sleeping in my house in Hazlitt. He opened the door. She jumped on me and said, "Here's your new dog," and closed the door. And I just hit. Her real name's Tinkerbell, but it's shortened for Tinker. And it's just I don't know why I named her that, but it just kind of works for her. She's a princess.
Were you when you named her?
In college. I was in college. I'm not proud. Okay.
What kind is she?
She's an Aussie Doodle.
Okay.
And Oakley's a Sheepadoodle. Oakley's Tinker's 4, and Oakley's 1.5 years. Oakley's my most recent rescue.
What do you do with them when you're traveling for a game?
They're in Texas right now. I drove them, before we went to Norman, I drove down 4 hours to drop them off, and I drove back that night. So I've been without them for about close to 2 weeks now, but they're coming up this weekend, thank God. I miss them.
It's like, how are you doing without them?
Oh, it's horrible. I get so bored. I don't know what to do with my time because they literally take up all my time.
How do you manage that in baseball? It's a lot.
It is. If we're being honest, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. It's so much work, but I know I feel like I can give them a better situation than what they were in. So I give it my all. I mean, they're literally my world.
Have you talked to Coach Holiday about maybe making them the team dogs?
Oh, Ruffles, Rock's dog, is the team dog. He takes that spot and he's a king. Ruffles is perfect.
The king needs his queen.
I mean, well, we're working on it. They're a little bigger, so they're a little harder to work. They're both 50-ish pounds, so they're a little harder than Ruffle being 20 pounds. So.
Semantics. What's on your bucket list?
My bucket list, if anything,
yes.
Shit, that's hard. There's so many things in my life that I'd want to do. Like I want to go to Italy. That's the biggest thing. I want to go experience that just because I love pizza and the culture and everything would be I would say my biggest one.
There's something, I just got back from Italy 2 days ago.
Really?
Yes, but this is not about me. I saw on the website, your bio, there was something else. Oh,
freediving with sharks. I'd love to do that. My best friend's from Puerto Rico, so I've been in the ocean. And he goes, there's nothing compared to it. And he's done it a few times, and I just want to experience it. Just to see such a powerful animal in person would be awesome.
Free diving, no cage.
No cage. If I'm gonna do it, I gotta do it. I mean,
where would you do this?
Hopefully Puerto Rico. I'd go visit him. He's actually he's gonna be in Australia coming up. He just got deployed to Australia, so maybe go visit him there. I don't know. It just depends. Just wherever he's at, I'm gonna go see him for a little bit. So,
what's next for you after this season ends?
get a job this summer, work out. I'll be living in Stillwater, so I'll get a job, work out, and just try and keep getting better at baseball every single day and just hang out. I really do love Stillwater, especially when no one's here, because there's no lines. It's perfect. You actually get to do things, and so it makes life so much easier.
Where's your favorite place to go in Stillwater?
For food?
Anything.
Oh gosh. It's got to be O'Brate, truly, because it's just it's home. I spend so much time there. When we don't have practice, it feels weird not going to the field. Like you almost make excuses to go there and just see everyone.